This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to a beautiful and sunny Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands. I'm sitting with a lovely herd of wildebeest as they have just woken up and started feeding for the morning up on quarantine. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari this morning. Behind the camera we have Paul and we are really hoping that with the little breeze that's picked up with the sun that it's going to be a really good day for predators this morning. So it's definitely a very, very good morning for the herbivores to be out and about feeding. There is a slight breeze. We're about 22 degrees Celsius, so nice and warm. And I think it's going to be a busy day today. I think we've got a lot of good things coming. You can see the wildebeest are just starting to move into the sun now. And so I think they are going to be sticking around here until it heats up a little bit later and then move off into the shade again. So we'd love to hear from you this morning. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know. You can find us at #WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on YouTube. If you're under the age of 18, pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or you can register on the WildEarth website, head over to the live safari page, and you can submit your questions there. We are very, very excited to hear from you and can't wait to answer your questions. So you can see these females are pregnant. Have a look at those nice rounded bellies, particularly the one closest to us. So these wildebeest are actually almost at full term now. They've maybe got about a month left, maybe a little bit longer. And then they'll be giving birth into our summer season. And it's a very exciting time when you have the herbivores pregnant, all the herds moving around. And we're expecting some rain to start coming in towards the end of the week, from around Wednesday, Thursday onwards, so tomorrow night and onwards actually. And so I'm sure the animals are going to be moving around in the next 2 days in anticipation of the rain coming. They can tell. So normally these wildebeest are up here on quarantine with some impalas and all the other herbivores just to stay safe during the night. You can see how nice and open it is, not much cover. And this is a massive advantage, particularly on a night like last night. It was very windy. And so the predators had a massive advantage over the night. You can see a wildebeest doesn't have very large eyes, so they rely more on their sense of smell and their hearing. And so what that will do is it will mean that during the night they might not see predators coming too well, so they need to be in as open an area as possible to avoid predators being able to sneak up on them. So you can see they are not looking very worried about predators at this point. All of them are sitting with their heads down or standing with their heads down and feeding. Now that the sun is up, it's definitely time to concentrate more on breakfast than worrying too much, because the predators should have already started settling down for the day. Especially in such an open area, there aren't a lot of predators that would take a chance up here to try and stalk up to something in daylight. can see it's now the time of golden light. Greg, the dark shading on the wildebeest actually does have a purpose. So it's actually not a different color in the coat. It's not anything that you would actually find on the skin itself. What it is actually longer sections of hairs that are crossing over each other. And you'll see they almost make stripes down the side, very similar to a zebra's stripes. And this is actually for camouflage. So it definitely helps them blend in. For example, in an open area like this, obviously they stick out quite a lot. But if these wildebeest were off in the thickets, right, across in the distance, those stripes help to break up the form of the body, because predators will see the whole form if it's one solid color. So those stripes will help break up the form. And what that means is a predator might not be able to tell where one wildebeest starts and one ends, or they might actually not see it too clearly where it is if it is hidden behind some thickets or some bushes. So it is quite important for them. It's not as striking as a zebra's. Zebras are obviously black and white and very, very distinct, where with wildebeest it's just longer patches of hairs that are crossing over each other. But they still act as a bit of camouflage for them. Right, so I'm going to leave these wildebeest to their breakfast and carry on to see what else I can find for you this morning. I'm hoping for some predators. Let's have a look at what our weather's doing in our different locations this morning.
Well, it seems like it's going to be a hot day today, and sunshine will be king. Anyway, we are out on Rusty, which is cause for celebration. We'll see how it goes, but, we don't want to get too excited just yet. But before we get into all of that, my name is Tristan, and I have Morgan on camera. What was that? I don't know. Okay, well, Morgan just made some sort of prawn clicking sound in the back there. I have no idea why, but he did. Anyway, let's carry on. We've just come to Treehouse Dam. Morgan and I can't help ourselves. This is our place of nothingness, so we come here every day just to check. Exactly, so much quality content that we get at this dam. Beautiful reflection, it's always guaranteed, except when it's windy, and lots of dust. And quiet. So many birds. Peaceful, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, the plan for the morning is, because our signal is a little different to normal, we've kind of have a different system on the car right now just to get us through this week. And so we're going to head probably more eastwards towards Chitwa, kind of hang around that area, see if we can find Maurice. But hopefully we'll be able to kind of pick him up somewhere along the way. I don't know, Elton, if you can let Tessa know, because I know she was live for most of what's happened this morning already, which is the dogs. The dogs are in the northeastern corner of Djuma. They're heading towards Buffelshoek Dam. So if Tessa wants to maybe go and follow up there, I unfortunately can't go in that direction. That's a no-go zone for Rusty at the moment. Not much signal, and it's a pity, because that's where Tswalu was seen last night with another leopard. The guys couldn't tell me what the other leopard was, a male or female, or they said they didn't have very good visuals, just hiding in the grass. So maybe it was Mulawati, I don't know. We also did see a honey badger actually just now, not at Treehouse Dam, everybody. It was at Philemon's Dip, but it didn't hang around for very long. It just ran away from us as we came down the dip. So that was exciting. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. I mean, maybe if we check kind of south and east, maybe we'll pick up some signs of Tswalu coming back westwards. I suspect, though, that there must still be some meat on that impala carcass that we found, not yesterday, the day before. So maybe those two leopards are still hanging around there. But like I say, unfortunately, signal for Rusty just won't work in that area, so we won't be able to head that direction. Look, Morgan, a fish just made a rise, as you would call it in fly fishing terms. But actually, this catfish is breathing air. So it's just bubbling on the surface. It's too much excitement for you, I know, Morgan. Just calm down. It's just some ripples on the water. You're used to this. You've done this before. All right. No sign of anything here. All quiet. Sat you for a few minutes. What's a shock? I know. Jess has been so good to us. It's a bit disappointing this morning. I would have thought we would have had at least one more starling running around the edge of the dam. Or one starling. Oh, there's one. It's farther. I saw it. It just hasn't come to the dam just yet. All right, let's just check carefully here. Lots of animals like to come and drink, just not when we're here. So this game path that comes this way is always one that I check quite carefully because of that. All right, let's carry on south and east, see what comes our way.
Welcome back. I am bumbling around looking for predators. I would be very, very happy to find some wild dogs this morning. Hopefully it works. So it's definitely still the beautiful golden light of the morning. It's nice and cool. So I'm thinking there might be some predators still moving around. I think we're definitely in for a very, very good day. Feeling quite lucky.
Yeah, let me check.
It's amazing how in this light, all of a sudden, there's a lot more greenery than there was before. Much more greenery.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna check maybe S3.
I think it's definitely going to be quite a hot day later. I think we're expecting around 37 degrees Celsius, so I think the earlier the better this morning. That's the plan before everything lies down for the whole day. I think my plan for the morning is going to be sticking along the drainage lines until I head towards the northeast on my way there. I'll be checking all the drainage lines and just see what happens.
Let me know. I think I'll let you know for I'm not there yet now.
Good morning and welcome on Bushwalk. We are live at Eco Training Pridelands. We're just about to start. We've climbed up into a little kopje and we were just scanning and looking and listening to see what we can find. Our plans for the morning is to go and look for elephant as well as possibly some giraffe and other general game species. So my name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we have got BK. So as the sun is already quite high, we can't offer you a sunrise this morning. But we do have an absolutely beautiful view for you on the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance. This is the northern part of the Drakensberg Mountains. This mountain range stretches all the way from the Eastern Cape region of South Africa through KwaZulu-Natal, through Mpumalanga, and eventually through the whole of Limpopo province. It's also one of the highest mountain ranges in South Africa, and especially when it meets Lesotho, it's on its highest. The area over here is also approximately 1,974 meters on its highest point, which is Mariepskop, which is the highest point that you will be able to see in the distance. Good morning, Brendan. Yes, it's absolutely peaceful, and it's actually such a lovely time of the year as well. The temperatures are so perfect, and I've just been thinking about it that merely 2 months ago I was out on a walk one morning, but it was so cold that I actually started shaking and my teeth started shaking as well, and I'm just so grateful that the winter is over. But what also excites me about this time of year is that I know that rains are coming within the next month or so, and that arrival of the rains is going to bring such a big change into the bush, especially with birds starting to breed, and also the return of all the insects, as well as many flowers that will start flowering again. Well, we're going to hang around here a little bit longer and see if we can spot something from our little position where we elevated on, and then from there start our walk to see if we can go and find any of those species which we mentioned earlier. But in the meanwhile, let's go see what Tristan is up to, as I believe he's on his way to look for a leopard.
Well, we just picked up tracks for a leopard now, but it's not going to be Maurice. Just trying to see where they've gone. Unfortunately, it seems like 75 cars drove here this morning already, looking for those dogs. So, I don't know, they seem like they've clipped the tracks. But it's for a young male. He went here. I wonder if it's not Shasha that's walking here. I'm just going to check. There was nothing at Treehouse Dam, which is, I mean, where I would have thought he would have gone. From here, there is a herd of impala that are around, so it's possible that he's just stalking these impalas. I just want to check the tracks nicely. Still going. I wonder who this could be. Shasha would be my guess. So, Greg, there's a couple of reasons. One is snakes are seriously well camouflaged. They're not easy to spot in these kind of places. So there's a lot of them. You see a lot of evidence of their tracks pretty regularly. But actually physically seeing them is difficult because of that reason. The other reason is that a snake, unlike what most people think, they don't actually want to be really anywhere near things that make a lot of noise. They like to be hidden and try and kind of just hide away and take it easy. And so when they hear a big car like this coming along the road and making all this noise, because despite what we think, and we think this car is fairly quiet, it's very noisy out here. You can hear it very clearly. And so despite that, they want to just try and move and hide. So when they hear a car coming, often they just go into a long grass or up into a tree where they'll curl up. So that's mostly why we don't see a lot of snakes. And then in the summer months when it's nice and, in the winter months when it is nice and open, a lot of the snakes are not moving as much because it's cold, so you're not seeing them kind of out and about. In summer they're far more active and doing their thing. This leopard is cut off. Looks like he went in here. Morgan, maybe we didn't spot the leopard at Treehouse Dam. Maybe we missed our opportunity today. It smells like leopard here. There was a lot of things to look at. No, the tracks are still here. Still going. All those ripples, we could have missed the spots, you're right. Justin, you're asking, so how do snakes actually climb trees? Well, they have a lot of muscle along their body, and they have scales, and scales have a fair amount of grip on them. And so as they go, they're just contracting and releasing muscles and bend their way, slowly climbing up. It's a pretty simple way that they do it. They also, sometimes you'll see when they traverse a tree, they kind of wrap around the tree, so the body itself almost like hugs the tree, and then it allows them to maneuver, and they'll just slowly inch their way up, and you'll be surprised how fast they can move. Another herd of impalas here. Just looking for potential things where this might waylay this leopard. Obviously this is not the way to be tracking a leopard. This is how you kind of lose tracks pretty quickly, which is what I think I've done already. It's not easy to be able to do it like this by car. Still, yeah. As well as talking and looking. Morgan, are you going to spot us a leopard this morning? Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited. Everybody, you heard that. He said, of course. So later, if we have no leopard, we know exactly who's going to be blamed. It will not be me. Michelle, any leopard will do for this morning. I agree. It's been a while for me, so I wouldn't mind any leopard. I'm sure Maurice is around, but I just want to check who this is, because it'll be cool if we find Shasha. It's been a while since we've seen him. And if nothing here, then we'll head over that way. Also, just want the vehicles from Chitra to have a chance. I don't want to go and just drive on their property and they're still looking and we take a spot away from them. That won't be ideal. Alright, so he has now officially left the road, as far as I can see. Unless this elephant has squashed his footprints. Just check the quarry here quickly. Sometimes these leopards like to come into here and just lie up. Hyenas, old buffalo tracks. Nothing that I can see this side. Let's go back. I'm going to just check a little bit further. If I don't see any sign there, then I just want to check Gary Main, just make sure he didn't go back south again. Alright, while I do that though, let's send you back across to Tessa and see what she's up to.
So I am bumbling along the drainage lines, heading north and east slowly. As Tristan said, there have been some reports of wild dogs, and so that's definitely what I'm going to try and find this morning. I definitely hope I get to find them. What I'm doing is actually just heading slowly up towards the northeast, towards Buffelshoek Dam, just to see if they might come towards that area. That's pretty much on our north and eastern boundaries, just a little bit in. And so that'll be the best area to check at the moment. I'm very, very excited that there are wild dogs around. Definitely a lucky day whenever there are wild dogs close by. I think they are probably still going to be active at this time, so it's a really good idea to keep checking, not just to go to one particular place and have a look around there. You've got to keep checking and moving, because the wild dogs are constantly moving until it gets a little bit hotter. So my strategy is to stick to the drainage lines that lead up to the dam, in the northeast. And that way I can cover my bases, because it winds onto both sides of the drainage line. There's open areas, and you might find things like impalas that are near the drainage lines looking for food. So it's a great place for wild dogs to be looking to. A little bit of cover, nice and green. Let's see how it goes. Actually getting a little bit colder, it seems. That normally only happens when there's cloud cover. It seems to get a little colder before it gets hotter, and that's actually a really good thing. I'm really happy about that, because it means that the predators are going to have a little bit more energy. Not that the wild dogs need it, I suppose. Always so energetic. So pretty much any time that there are wild dogs in the area, it's always worth looking, even if you don't find them. And that's because they are so endangered and so special to spend time with, because you never know when you're going to see them again. There are so few in the general area and in the world. But wish me luck. I'm going to keep going towards the dam and just keep checking slowly.
Free diving is the purest way to experience the great African sea forest. Silently gliding through the long kelp fronds allows you to reconnect with nature and explore this enchanted world. Sea Forest is a brand new daily experience coming soon on the WildEarth channel. You will explore an underwater forest live from Cape Town, while a team of naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, sharks, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
Being nominated to the top 5 and finally being here, for me, it's an achievement. Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward.
The storytelling as well. So yeah, I think that's where I see my strongest point.
And then, that was the opportunity of the scraping.
I say the bedding and the call, definitely, for me, it was quite a big challenge. Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
So we seem to have some giraffe here along the drainage line. There's actually 2 of them. And it looks like both young males. He's got an ox picker right on the top of his ossicone. Beautiful. So that male looks slightly older than the one that's currently hidden. But they're both not that old because they don't have any scarring on the neck. And they still look in very, very good condition. They're also not massive in body size. Very striking spots on that one, actually. Nice and dark, almost like a chocolate brown. So it looks as though that giraffe isn't feeding at the moment. It actually looks quite alert. Although it is looking at us, you know, it is a drainage line as well. And so there might very well be predators that might be around. And so they need to make sure before they come down into the drainage line to feed on all the fresh greenery that's more nutritious than up on the crests. They need to make sure that there aren't any lines or anything in this drainage line. And so that's why they keep kind of looking over and being alert. So while they're looking around, I'm scanning around as well. You can hear a lot of birds are still calling. The dawn chorus has gone on for ages this morning, which is lovely. And those birds are also an indicator for giraffes. Many animals will also use the birds and the bird calls to tell if there is potential danger in an area. And you can see there's oxpeckers all over these two giraffes, looking for some food. Absolutely beautiful to look at. That silhouette shows you how thick the bottom of the giraffe's neck is. You can imagine the bones or the vertebra in the neck of a giraffe are really, really big. And the muscle is also very impressive. A male's neck, especially at the base there, is going to be a lot thicker than a female's. Danny, there's quite a few different birds calling in the background. There's starlings calling. There was a oriole calling just now. There's a white-bellied sunbird calling. You can hear some oxpeckers just now. Orange-breasted bushruck, a grey-headed bushruck is that big sound that you're hearing. There was also a chin spot batters that popped up just now. But I think the one that you're asking about at the moment is a grey-headed bushruck. It sounds a bit like a, well, how would I describe it? Like a ghost call. You can see this giraffe is in excellent condition. He is definitely still young. He's quite small, although he looks very, very big. He's probably just toward the end of his teens, beginning of his adult phase, and getting a bit frustrated by the oxpeckers. So at his size, he'd probably have to eat anywhere between, I would say, 18 and 27, somewhere there, kilograms of food in a day. A big male giraffe will eat maybe 35 or so. So he would eat a little bit less because he's still smaller in body size. Riv, I agree, this giraffe is stunning, especially in that light where you can see the sun on his side and then the shade on his chest. You can see the difference in his markings. Actually, both of these giraffes are particularly beautiful because they've got very clear lines in between all the spots. So their spots really do stick out. And both in such good condition. There's no scarring, there's no growths on the legs, there's no giraffe's wart or anything else, just absolutely beautiful. I actually love how, have a look at his back legs, you can see that the spots down towards the bottom of his legs are so dark they're almost black. It looks like he's wearing muddy socks. There's actually a stripe there on the joint, and then it gets lighter going up. And then on the front, it looks like he's wearing white socks, and then they kind of ombre up into black. Look how muscular he is. Unbelievable. Katie, giraffes on average usually live to about 25 years old. This is an average, so they They can be older, they can be younger. You probably find that males might live slightly shorter lives than females. And that would be because, you know, with the males, when they are being territorial, when they are fighting for dominance for mating, they neck with each other, and that can actually severely injure them. So you can imagine that's the long neck. It's very muscular, and it's being used with the head as a kind of fighting tool, which is very unique. No other animals kind of fight that way. And so if you get an injury from another giraffe's head, say on your neck or on your leg or somewhere like that, and it injures you badly, you won't be able to move around and feed. Or you could actually injure yourself if you hurt another giraffe or hit another giraffe with a particular kind of twist in your neck or anything like that. You could break a neck, you could injure the skull. And so males might live a little bit less than females. But on average, it's about 25 years. In captivity, I know that they have gotten a lot older, but it's the same with all animals in captivity, where you can control the environment, you can provide veterinary attention, those kinds of things. And there's no natural predators, then all animals will live longer. Which isn't, I mean, you know, it's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think captive animals are a good idea. Seems to be hiding his face while he's feeding. Let's just have a listen. There's a lot of bird activity at the moment because we are in the drainage line. I can even hear hornbills in the background. Actually not often that you can hear a giraffe feeding. This young male is being quite rough. Maybe he's standing on a dry branch or something as well. Absolutely beautiful. There's still a very consistent grey-headed bushrock somewhere in the background. And that call you can hear now is the oxpeckers. Right, so I think I'm going to carry on up the drainage line and leave the two giraffes to their breakfast here in the sun. Why don't we go over to JP, who's on bushwalk.
Hey guys, we're just going to be very quiet. We've actually just bumped a pride of lions on foot now, and a few hundred meters behind us is some buffalo. And we're not going to stay very long here because these guys are probably trying to ambush that buffalo at this waterhole, and they know that they must come and drink. So just to be respectful to them, we're going to move out of the area and allow them to hunt successfully, or neither to disturb the buffalo in any way or push the buffalo by accident towards them. We're just going to quickly see if I can get a better view of them, and then from there on we're going to give them the space that they need. general, we find that lion can either be very aggressive towards you and then they will run off, but if you bump from at close range, see here's their tracks in front of us and they were probably lying up here. But we also find that if they see you well in advance, they actually just tend to move away from you. We're just going to move on to this area over here. There's a bit more open. So what I've also made sure is that there's sufficient amount of cover between me and these lions that they don't really see us, as well as that we don't unnecessarily disturb them. So for those of you that have never walked lions before, it's incredibly important that you never ever run from a cat. They're incredibly fast. Just to give you an idea, they can do some 88 kilometers per hour, which is approximately 22 meters per second that they will cover. So if you do find yourself in a wilderness area where you do get charged or confronted by a lion, stand still and don't run. And if they do chase you, it's just simply a case of shouting at them, and generally that will stop that. It might actually take you several times to shout at them before they actually move off. With them, you can make eye contact, but it's very different when you're working with leopard. If you do ever find or bump a leopard, just make sure that you actually don't make eye contact with it. And where we would normally walk backwards away from lion, in this case, you rather walk sideways away with leopard. As it will see, as there's a weakness when you walk away from them. Just want to see if we can get another glimpse of them. They're just 100 meters or so in front of us. There's a few of them that's moving down the drainage line. So for those of you that also have, here we go, we're just going to put through the vegetation there. You can just see some of them disappearing there. I don't want to push them because they've already ran, but there's one that's still looking at us. And when they do run away from them, we actually barely see them from the front, but here we go. You can see those little black ears popping up. And that's the first time that I actually saw them this morning, is when they turned around and I saw the black ears. It's just amazing how well they actually camouflage in this brown grass at the moment. I'm going to try and get one last view and then we're going to leave them. And then we'll go and rather have a look at our buffalo. We're just going to make our way back to the vehicle maybe, and then see if we can get the vehicle and then view them from the vehicle. Okay guys, so what we're going to do, let's head back to the vehicle. We'll then from there on rather view them with a vehicle which is going to be less intrusive on them, and hopefully we're going to wait for those buffalo to come back. So I'm just going to move away from the camera and let's see what we can go and do. Okay. That's while we are here, we can...
Well, unfortunately, everybody, our tracks for our leopard, and actually leopards, crossed south. The young male went south, and so did a female. I suspect maybe it's Shadulu coming back from the north, heading southwards back into Kalahari. It could also be Sabui, but yeah, we kind of tracked them to there, which is not ideal, but that's the way things go. Hello, impalas. There's a waterbuck watching the impalas coming along. Yes, that's precisely how our morning has gone so far. Is my head in the way, Morgan?
No, but it probably will be soon.
Morgan's making fun of me again, telling me that I have a big head. Morgan, don't be nasty to me. Anyway, nice to see some impalas. Lots of them along the fire break at the moment. It's a good place for them during the night to try and spend time and not to get themselves killed. Unfortunately, one of them was taken last night by the dogs here at Twin Dams in this area, which is a bit sad. It happens quite regularly, I'm afraid, especially when the dogs are in town.
Sorry, Tristan, your head's in the way.
Morgan. Sometimes I think you just do it on purpose.
I think the same thing.
I mean, sometimes I do.
I can tell.
You can tell. Everybody at home too, by the sounds of things. So, I'm just going to sit here and try and not be in Morgan's way. Are you watching the one across the road?
Yeah.
Oh, then I can stand up again. That's better. Anyway, Mel's crutches just to get towards the dam. So I think we'll put these guys, try to see what else we can find. Our impala is crossing the fire break at the moment, so unfortunately our tracks for both leopards went south into Little Gowrie, so we can't follow those any further. So we're going to head towards Chitwa now and try and see if we can find little Maurice. I don't think anyone's really looking for him this morning. Sounds like the guys all busy with lion tracks south of Chitwa on a property nets. So we'll take the gap and try and head in there and see if we can pick up anything. It's sad that the tracks for those leopards went southwards. So we're going to check here quickly. There's lots and lots of hyena tracks here, which is par for the course because of the dog being here. Hyenas would have been. So we know often with dogs that the hyenas will try and follow them. Right, there might be a spray in signal, and because of that we can across to Tessa.
I am still on the edge line. You can hear the radio chatter in the background. There's quite a few of us looking for the wild dogs. The different tracks that are out and about this morning. I think it is a very, very, very good morning for predators. Predators, obviously, well, actually all the animals will be able to know that the rain is coming. On seasonal and weather changes coming. Also, I do apologize for we are having some tech issues, I believe. Gonna kind of what I'm doing along the way is stopping and just kind of having a look around. You can see this is quite a thick area, so this is an area where you've got to pay very close attention because you might miss a predator. This is on the bank of the drainage line, and it's very, very thick with tamboti trees, jackalberry trees, guarri trees, guarri bushes, I should say. So this is a very, very good area to check, and I'm stopping a little bit higher up, so not in the actual drainage line, but a little higher up because it gives me a slightly better vantage point for hearing. Olivia, the bush will start to look more green after our first substantial rain. So far we've had some very light showers. We've had a lot of like mist and drizzling. Very light rain in very short patches. So it's been enough to start some fresh growth, but not enough to actually give the plants all the water that they need to start turning green again. We are expecting rain later in this week, and it is supposed to be quite a lot. And so then it'll become a lot greener. So I really can't wait for that to happen because it changes how everything looks. It changes animal behaviors too. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But I'm going to send you over to JP, who is following a lion pride.
Back on bushwalk, we decided to actually opt for the vehicle and view them from the vehicle instead of disturbing them, as I've noticed that there was a large number of tracks for cubs as well, and you never want to really upset a female with cubs because they can very quickly charge you. And we also don't want to disturb them in terms of their success of attempting to hunt on the buffalo. They're most likely looking at the herd, seeing if there's any sick, injured or weak individuals. I'm just going to be dead quiet and let you enjoy the lions. I just can't believe how many small ones is in this group. It's just absolutely amazing how many cubs is here. One of the features that you'll most likely notice on many of the small cubs is a large amount of spots. If you compare them to the adults, and those spots will disappear as if they become older. And that little spots help them that they actually blend in with dappled sunlight when they're actually hiding underneath vegetation, making it harder for other predators to see them so that they can heal themselves. We often find that lion cubs are outcompeted by other predators such as hyena, as well as leopard. I've even known where leopard cubs as what So for these little lions, they have to keep up with the adults. So what we often also find is if they're incredibly small, the adults will actually go out and make a kill, and then they'll come and fetch the cubs to come and feed once they have been at a point where they can start feeding on solids. Some of the cubs already are weaned by 2 months, some of them drink milk for much longer, although roughly at 2 months they can start feeding on solids. So for a lion cub, you have to keep up. There's very little mercy if you don't, otherwise you will be neglected and left behind. I also find it incredibly fascinating with group dynamics when it comes to big prides like this, and we'll quite often notice that they will actually compete against one another for access to food. And quite often the weakest individuals in those group are the ones that get the least. The most aggressive, the largest ones, they are the ones that will get the most. We just have another male that's coming directly from behind us, and we just want to see if we can pop out. So definitely is a pride male in this group as well, and quite often we find that the males will actually follow the females. He's just behind the vegetation over here. He's going to come right up into the open now, and what they do is they simply wait for them to make a kill. However, it's often believed that males don't hunt, which is entirely untrue. They do hunt. They can make their own kills, but if somebody else can do the job for you, why not? A few further interesting things how you can separate males from females, and I'm sure most of you know this already, is that the males have got manes. And the larger the mane, the more dominant the individual, and the more likely a female is actually to choose that specific male. There's also a few records of actually females which had manes from Botswana, and that was because they were exposed to a large amount of estrogen. Testosterone. taking us into an ad pod.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launch Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks, a mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. There's somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're going to walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is that what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we've got a welcome sight, which is young Maurice sitting on his mound, taking it easy. We were driving along Gari Main and kind of coming into the area where he was last seen and spotted him on the mound, kind of in the block. So he's taking it easy at the moment. He's watching a waterbuck every now and then, which is, I don't think that's enthralling to him, far too little, as Morgan says, to really interest him. He's after always the bigger stuff like 500 buffalo or a herd of 30 elephants. Those are the things that entertain this cat. But he's every now and then will put his head over his shoulder and watch this waterbuck that's walking around in the background. But he looks very stoic up there, doesn't he? He's like he's perched on his little crown. On his little throne. He does look a little on the tired side though this morning. It's like he has not had a cup of coffee. His eyes are like drooping and starting to close. It's almost as though he's had a tough evening, looking very, very sleepy, which is not normally his look. His look is normally quite alert and quite sort of all over the place. But I suppose when you've had a long evening, it's okay to look a little bit like you need a good rest. I don't think he's going to be able to stay up on his mound for too long. While there is a nice cool breeze, it is starting to get warm quite quickly. And as you can see, he's kind of in full sun right now. So it's going to eventually hit him enough that he's going to have to come down and find himself some shade. I'm interested to see which way he goes from here, if he's going to go back down towards Chitwa Dam, or if he's going to cross back into Torchwood. He's kind of halfway between the dam and the fire break at the moment. And Gari Main. So wouldn't surprise me if he gets up from here and heads back into Torchwood. Although it would be nicer for us if he stays this side, because signal for us is much better on Chitwa these days. So hopefully he'll stay here, and hopefully his mom will arrive at some point. Be nice to see her. It's been a while since I've seen her. Nearly, yeah, I think so. I think his coat coloration will remain exactly the same. Light color like that. Don't think you're going to see it changing too much going through his life. You say it's a stunning coat color. He does have a pretty coat color, but I must be honest, I prefer his mom's coat. That more kind of orange gold as opposed to this yellow gold that he's got. It's not to say that he's not a pretty boy. It's just I like that rich color that Tandy has. Kalamba also has it as well. She's got a very orangey appearance to her, which is quite nice. But you can see just typical of him everywhere. He's just looking all over the place. Anything and everything that's going to interest him. And it is getting big. He should be. He's marching on in age now. So if you compare him to the likes of Shasha or to Tsemba, he's still got a lot of growing to do, or even as a male leopard. But he's definitely putting on size by the day, and the fact that he's starting to kill his own things and do that kind of stuff will only stand him in good stead. I think eventually you can't push your tail against the mound. You see he's not standing on his own tail. Maurice, you are a funny cat. But yeah, he's still got a lot of growing to do before he even can remotely compete with any of the other cats. As a dominant leopard, he's put on size, but he still has much more to go. I actually don't think he's going to be a massive leopard. Pretty sure he's going to end up being very similar to Tamba. Oh, Tamba is big though. Tamba's grown a lot, but he's going to be a shorter, stockier leopard rather than a tall kind of leopard like Tingana or Anderson. What are you going to go and stalk now? So we can watch the waterbuck that's coming closer. Let me just go forward slightly, Morgan, so we can just quickly see what it is that he is busy watching. That's still the waterbuck that he's on. He's got no chance with the waterbuck. Although saying that, I mean, in this actually very spot, just from this termite mound, if you walk 100 meters to the west, I found Tingana once on a fully grown female waterbuck. So things are possible, but to be honest, that was a much bigger Tingana than what Maurice is at the moment. Morgan, should we move a little bit? Because we can't really see his face anyway. So we're going to work like this. Let's try and see if we can just reposition slightly. Here's the waterbuck here in front. Just watching and feeding and doing their thing. Of course, there's now in the perfect spot. We've got 100 million sticks in the way. So we'll have to come around a little bit. So hold on, Morgan. I'm going to just position slightly differently. So I have my hat in the way. Because otherwise you'll moan at me and then it will, be awkward and no one wants that. Is that better for you? You're so quiet now. What's wrong? You're fine with anything. You never complain. Any of that were true. Look at those little paws crossed over. Hello, boy. Such a cute cat, this. We've been so fortunate to get to spend as much time as we have with him. He's a pretty special individual, his little Maurice. I suppose any leopard is, let's be honest. They're all pretty epic cats. Are you going to try and hunt the waterbuck? Is that what's going to happen this morning? if he does, I'll be super impressed with him. But I mean, the chances are very, 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 very slim. I think if it was impalas, you'd see a lot more in the way of him kind of wanting to get closer, so a lot more interest. For now, I think he's just interested because, well, you know, he has a moving animal close by, and so that's always something that intrigues a leopard. I don't think he's particularly thinking of hunting them. He's just watching them because it's moving and it's a potential source of meat. Alrighty, we'll sit with him and see whether or not he closes the distance to the waterbuck, or if the waterbuck come up this way. In the meantime, though, there's some exciting things coming to WildEarth, and one of those is the penguins.
So I've actually just been checking around Buffelshoek Dam, and I decided to just stop and have a little bit of a listen because we are close to the boundaries here. It sounds like the wild dogs are further north, possibly north of the boundary. And so we're just having a listen to see they might be on the move and might be coming back this way. But while we were sitting, I was actually having a look at this magnificent community nest spider web. You can see glistening in the background there. Have a look at the size of that. It's probably, if I stood next to it, it would take me up to my chest. That's how big this spider web is, and it looks like it's a community of 3 different nests in one gigantic catch web. But I just love how you can see all the spider webs glistening in this morning golden light. So it's actually one of the most complex community nest spider webs that I've seen on Djuma. Normally you would have one of those big bulky nest sections with a big catch web, and this is definitely very, very impressive. I think because it is close to a dam, there are a lot of insects flying through, and so they've obviously realized this is a good spot, and they've just kept expanding and expanding. So these community nest spiders are actually active at night. They are nocturnal spiders, which is quite unusual. Majority of spiders here in southern Africa are actually active during the day. And there will be hundreds of spiders, possibly in each of those 3 ball-shaped nests. So the idea behind this is you make it look a bit like a messy bird's nest, that big ball in the middle that's got things like dead leaves packed into it to protect the spiders. And that's where they'll stay during the day and sleep. And then come out at night to eat anything that's been caught in that catch web that comes down towards the ground. Very, very interesting nests to be looking at. Definitely not something I want to walk into. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to see if I can find anything else closer to the cut line, and let's head over to JP on Bushwalk and see what he's got.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still on our vehicle. We've absolutely had an action-packed morning for those of you that has just joined us. As what we were going to approach this herd of buffalo a little bit earlier, the next moment a number of lions jumped up to my right. We managed to get a quick view of them, and we're going to probably go and try and see if we can relocate on them again with the vehicle. So if you're wondering why I'm back on the vehicle, it's purely out of a safety aspect, as well as being respectful to both lion as well as buffalo, not to disturb them in the attempt to get away from lion or disturbing the lions from the opportunity of actually making a kill. There's a nice big breeding herd, and there's also a number of small individuals within this group, a lot of young calves, and a few of them that's tending to fall back to the back of the group, and this is most likely what was attracting this group of lions. There was one big male and a number of females, and the lions that I did see, and that male's presence would probably definitely help bringing down a large animal such as a buffalo. As mentioned earlier, but male lions do make kills. It's not that they don't hunt at all, as many books will illustrate or provide the idea that they don't hunt and purely scavenge from the females. Quite often I've seen large groups of male coalitions which has been very successfully taking down animals such as big buffalo, as well as even hippopotamus. So with a group of buffalo like this, if they were startled again by the lionesses and the lions, they would immediately group all the young calves in the center. The females will then form a protective group around them, and the males will immediately form a group circling the females and the calves. We also find that buffalo will very quickly charge at lions, and I've seen a few times where lions have actually come short when it comes to buffalo. I can remember a few years ago, I've actually saw a lioness that was tossed some 2.5-3 meters into the air by a buffalo. That gave me a lot of respect for the damage that a buffalo can do onto a lioness. Eventually, she was tossed a few more times into the air and trampled, and that was the end of the fight. Also seen a few big male lions actually fleeing into a dam to try and escape from buffalo, while I've also seen lions climbing trees to escape from a big herd of buffalo. We're not going to spend too much time with them, as that we would like to try and get a visual again on the lions and see if we can maybe see the cubs, as well as a big male that was busy marking his territory. Some oxpeckers coming in as well. And they also after a little meal. We often find that the oxpeckers associate with the buffalo specifically for the ticks, but they also do alert them of potential threats. And one of the oxpecker species that I saw for the first time on Pridelands a while ago is actually yellow-billed oxpecker, which generally associates with buffalo. However, they're incredibly scarce outside the Kruger National Park and surrounding areas. The smaller red-billed oxpecker will also sit on buffalo, and we find that they're actually a little bit more common in terms of numbers. Also a fork-tailed drongo that's associating with really buffalo here in the moment. And what he's busy doing, picking off insects as if they're disturbing it. Well, let's go and see if we can go and find the lions again. And in the meanwhile, let's go and see what the others are up to.
So I am now bumbling along Drakensberg Road. Normally, on a clear day, you can actually see the whole mountain range off to the western side. But it is so dusty in the distance that you actually can't see any point of the mountains at the moment. But I'm actually driving down. I'm following some wild dog and hyena tracks. I know that the wild dogs have moved off north. It's still very interesting to see where they have moved. And on top of that, if there might still be any hyenas that are now starting to follow these tracks. You never know what you're going to find. I'm also looking for elephants in this area. It is a particularly good area at this moment because there is a lot of fresh growth, particularly in the bush willows at the moment. And that's one of the elephant's staple foods at this time of the year because they are the first of the trees to start kind of growing new leaves. I'm just taking it nice and slow, checking for tracks, checking in the trees, checking all the way through around me if there might be any movement. It is still cool enough, luckily, that I haven't had a chance to take off my jersey, so this is actually good news. It means animals are still going to be a little bit more active with the incredibly hot weather that we have coming. Animals are going to do what they can this morning before it gets too hot. I'm really hoping that I'm going to bump into some elephants around the corner. I just have that feeling. It's always so lovely to spend time with them in the mornings, especially.
Well, we're still with Maurice. He's just watching the world go by, as he does. He's obviously a cat that likes to just see what's happening. His mom is actually also here. She's not visible from where we are right now. His mom is a little bit further down the slope on another mound of her own. So we'll go and pop in and have a look at her. It's been a while since we've actually had any decent sightings of her. It was quite funny because I was sitting with him and I was like, there's another car there. And then I heard the guys on the radio talking about Tandy, and obviously this is Maurice. So Tandy is a little bit further down and onto the other side of where we are right now. I wonder if they'll join up. I mean, they must know about each other. It's just interesting that they're lying so far apart. It's generally not the case with a mother and cub. They normally don't lie so far away from one another. Let's see how he drops his head when cars come. He always does it. It's like his little trait is to kind of drop his head and just pretend like he's hiding a little bit before he then pops back up again and realizes that everyone's still going to watch him regardless of what he does. Slowly but surely his head will start to come up a little bit more. And he's now looking in the direction of where his mom is. So she is that area there. So Nick and Nova, I mean, we haven't... So he's been on carcasses where we're unsure whether it's him or his mom that has taken them down. So, for example, the other day he was at First Rock and he had a big impala carcass there. There was no sign of Tandy, but it was a big male impala, so it could have been him. It might not have, which would be his biggest that we know of. What we've physically seen him take is we've seen him take things like probably the monitor lizard, actually. Hey, Morgan? It's probably the biggest thing we've actually witnessed him bring down. You know, we talk about these kind of things and, you know, we say that maybe he's brought those down, but actually watched him do was probably the monitor. And we've also seen him kill scrub hares, we've seen him kill guinea fowl. So those things have all been parts and parcel of his hunting prowess of the past couple months. But yeah, if that impala was him, then that will be the biggest thing that he's seen, or that he's actually been able to bring down. It's a beautiful cat though, isn't he? James, I know, I think you and many others, she's been a bit absent of late, so we're going to try and kind of get a view of her now. It's a bit complicated because the guys were started forming a lineup for Tandy when we spotted him from another road. So even though they're close together, no one actually knew he was on this mound. And so when we found him, we didn't even realize that they were here. So it's going to be a bit complicated with cars and stuff, but we'll figure it out when I go off air just now. And then we'll try and kind of head towards Tandy and spend some time with her. I think between the two of them, we can probably manage it out. I'm trying to see if I can see her from where I am. It's there's a mound that's not far from here. I'm just trying to see if she's on it or if she's going to come walking this way, or if we can actually spot her from this direction. Let's have a look. Can't see any sign of her from here. Maybe it's on a different mound to the one that I can see. Chris Rogue, like all boys, young boys in the leopard world, and the paws are absolutely massive when they're young. It takes them a while to grow into their paws and their ears. His paws are big, but they're still nothing compared to Tumba. Tumba had the most ridiculously sized feet for a young leopard. I have no idea why his feet were so big. I remember him when he was, in fact, he was younger than what Maurice is now. And his track was already the same size as Tingana's. So Tumba always had silly big feet, perfectly average. Yes, exactly. Marcel, who obviously a lot of you all know is our tech guy, he wears a size 14.5, and he's trying to convince the camp every day that those are perfectly average size feet. And I mean, I've come across a lot of humans in my life, and 14 tends to be on the upper limit of people's feet sizes. Well, I mean, it's not the upper limit, but it's not exactly average. So we joke around now when anything is quite big, we call it perfectly average sized. So Maurice has got perfectly average sized feet, much like old Marcel. But they'll eventually grow into them and kind of... Marcel won't grow into his feet, I'm afraid. He's fully grown. But Maurice is going to grow into them eventually, just like Tumba did. You know, Tumba's ears and his feet no longer look clownish like they did when he was younger. And it's amazing because Marcel, while he's got big feet, he's not the biggest. I mean, have you seen people with like size 18s and stuff? It's crazy. Is he? He does look like that. The nice thing though for Maurice is that he's got enough fluff in his ears to almost form a pillow. But one of Morgan's fluffy pillows would be perfect. The soft to medium, but not hard pillow. Yes, exactly. The midway between soft and medium pillow, I'm sure Maurice would absolutely love it. Yeah, and he also won't get allergies from the duck down or goose down. So I think it's a fine idea, Izzy. Pretty sure he would agree to that. I can just imagine Maurice on like a little pillow bed, you know, looking like with his little gold chain around his neck, and just, you know, living the band life with his groupies around him, you know.
You keep your triangle on his chain so it's always close.
He's got like a little... No, his chain will have like a... You know, it will be one of those that's like gold, and then it will have a little marimba that's on it with like diamonds all over it, you know? One of those.
His face with diamonds.
Yeah, his face with diamonds, in a diamond-encrusted face. So, we'll see. That's what I can imagine for him. But it's
on his way to get it.
He's on his way. He's like, yeah, guys, let me show you. I've got some of those. But it's also probably getting quite hot on that mount, hence why he's moving. Look at that little tail as well. Cute, man. I'm sure he's heading towards his mom. I'm sure that's the direction that he's going to travel. You'll see there's another car coming, so he's kind of like slinking a little bit. He does this until such time as everything kind of calms down and people are kind of following him, and then he goes absolutely fine again. What I'm going to do is, just while everyone's following him, I'm just going to quickly go down to his mom, because there's space for us there. And then I'm sure he's going to catch up with his mom at some point. But let's quickly check her out while there's a gap for us to do so. There's quite a number of vehicles that want to come here. It's been a fairly quiet morning by the sounds of things. So we'll just quickly head to mom and then move from there. Alright, so I'm going to just get to his mother. Just try to get a visual of her. pretty sure she's still static on the mount.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the Wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we've got Tandy just next to her. She's just come down one mound, and I think she's going to go up onto the next one. So we'll just park here and see where she goes. Maurice is still up from where she is, so I'm pretty sure he'll kind of join her at some point. It's going to merge into two sightings here. The next little bit. Let's see if she goes and stands on this mound. Nice to see her though. You can see the coat color difference immediately. What I was saying, she's got a much richer color coat than little Maurice. Maurice is a bit more yellow in coloration, but she's so cool to see her. She still looks wonderful, even that she's going on to 15 years old now. It's amazing that she's still doing as well as she is. Let's try to keep up with her. Her son is not far. He's just on the northern side of her at the moment. You can see the other car. Looks like she's heading towards Djuma. She's kind of walking straight towards the sort of corner of Djuma, Little Gari and Chitwa. So I wonder if she's going to cross onto our side. That'll be cool if she does. It'll definitely make for a nice drive for us. Still a little bit of a way to go. It's not far, but it's still a little bit of a way. The Reeps is just on our right here in this little thicket. So Oliver, I don't know if I got this question is what Karula, how long did she stay in charge for before she disappeared? I think that's what I got. Yeah? I think that's it. That's it. Thank you, Morgan. So Karula was dominant for a number of years. She was from 2002, I want to say. She was No, wait. I've got to get this right now because she disappeared in 2017. So it was, 2007, 2006, somewhere there. She started to dominate from, and then she was dominant until she disappeared in 2017. And she was still holding dominance at that point. She wasn't, at that point, no longer territorial. She was still able to hold her dominance and do her thing, which is why it was so sad that we lost her, because she was still very much a feature of the landscape. You can imagine when she disappeared, she was like 2.5 years younger than what Tandy is now. So Tandy has outlived Karula by quite a long way. What she's seen. It would have been nice though. Imagine if Karula had just gotten one more litter out. It would have been very cool. They've been feeding well though, both these cats. You see, both of them are full. So they've obviously eaten well. We know they've been on a Ngala carcass. We know that Maurice had that impala recently. So I'm sure there's been little things in between as well. Anna-Marie for sure, she's looking amazing. I'm just going to go forward a little bit further. Now, some of you might remember the other day I had Sabui on Chitwa, on a termite mound. So the termite mound is this one right in front. So it just goes to show you how much overlap is taking place between the cats at the moment. Sabui comes onto this. Kalamba has been seen on this mound as well. And now I'm pretty sure Tandy's going to go up it too. Looks like she's going to cross into Little Gowrie. Her angle has changed slightly now. She's not walking as far north now. It's mostly straight to the west. But let's see if she sniffs and smells Sabui, because Sabui's scented here. Nope. So it's going to be a short Tandy sighting, I'm afraid, because it looks like she's going to cross. And don't go behind us, girl. This is just scent marking. Hello, beautiful cat. Very cool. Off she goes into Little Gowrie. So we'll leave her there, I'm afraid. That's an area we can't go to. So we're going to have to let her go, and we'll just keep an ear out. If she starts to go north, then we'll come back round, catch her on the other side, and go with her. I'd like to spend as much time with her as possible, because she seems to be a lot more elusive than Maurice, which is par for the course. I mean, he's a young male leopard, so it's pretty much he just harrings around in his little area and does his thing between the two waterholes, which is Chitwa and Leopard Dam. Whereas she's a lot more all over the show, and looks like she's on hunting mode now. See the tail twitching? You can see she's starting to look for things. I suspect that she's decided it's time to start eating again. But she doesn't look 15, does she? She looks so good. Awesome. All right, let's see if we can try and find her little brat again and see what he's up to. Like I say, if she angles more towards Gowrie Main and wants to cross, then I'll come back and pick her up. All right, while we try and relocate and not stall the car. Why are you laughing, Morgan? No reason. Fourth gear is not quite right for turning. Let's send you across to JP and see how he's getting on.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still on our vehicle for this morning, and we've been tracking both on the vehicle as well as on foot. And when it comes to following up on lion, quite often they won't actually lift their heads when we drive past them. I noticed that there was a disturbance of impala in the distance, and then I decided to go and check. However, we could not even see anything with the binoculars from where we were positioned from the vehicle. After a short while of walking, I suddenly noticed a whole bunch of heads popping in, and simply what I did is what we would normally do is radio the vehicle in, and from there we came to view our lions. It seems that the whole pride is here together. There's a large number of cubs that I can see at the moment. We've also got some lionesses, and our male lion is present at, well, I was really hoping that we are going to find them quickly this morning, and we luckily did. And one of the things that I always bank on is on these warm days is that they're going to start resting very early, because lions don't like moving too much when it is incredibly hot, because they actually lose more energy than that they can actually gain by moving about or trying to hunt in that period of time. Studies actually shows that 96% of all their hunts actually do take place at night. However, during the winter months and the late winter months up to now, I have seen hunts taking place up as late as 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, even into 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And these hunts are normally executed quite close by to rivers or close by to large dams where they know that animals are going to force in to come and have a drink. I'm just going to be quiet and let's just enjoy and see what they get up to. And if there's any viewers that have specific questions about lions, you are more than welcome to guide me into that direction, as I'm sure that you have heard so many different facts about lions already. Good morning, RBeard, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your comment of it being quite a large pride, it is quite a large pride. It's not the largest of prides I have seen. The largest part of the composition of this pride is a lot of different cubs from different age groups. So they're quite similar age groups. Quite often, if we do find that there's a big gap between the age groups, then the females will actually take those cubs elsewhere, because the older cubs can dominate them as well as injure them. And generally that's when I found personally that they do start forming splits in groups. Some of the largest prides I've actually seen was in the Kruger National Park area, close by to Satara, where there was prides of well over almost 50 individuals. Those super prides also tend to split off eventually, as it becomes very hard to actually feed all those cubs. And it's better to start splitting off into separate groups. I did notice over the years that those groups will eventually regroup at specific points again. I think one of the reasons why they're making their way back into this area, why they've been so quiet here for a long time, is because of a large amount of hyenas in the area. And especially with a lot of young cubs, you don't want to take a risk with hyenas. And now that they're a little bit older and a little bit easier to protect them, as well as keeping them close by, it becomes a little bit easier for them. And I really hope that this pride is going to stay on Pridelands for quite a while. Good morning, Anna Marie. I personally don't name prides and animals, so I will try and find out for you if somebody has named them. And the reason why I've done so as a wilderness guide that mostly works on foot, as we never want to create a human bond, or almost like in a form of where you associate a human-like character or name with a specific group or with specific individuals. Generally, when we do name them, we actually name them after geographical areas and never after people or people that we work with. Some more of the cubs are now relaxing and coming over. Quite often you'll see that lions will actually rub their faces against one another. There's a gland on the face or cheek that they actually will use to rub on objects as well as on one another to mark objects. So many of the different behaviors that you'll actually notice with domesticated cats that are so similar to lion, and that is sometimes clawing, pawing onto objects, rubbing their faces onto objects. And if you do have a tomcat and you are familiar with them spraying urine, they do that too. In the case of the males, however, females don't spray urine while they are marking their territory. We also find that they've got a number of glands underneath the feet, which is known as interdigital scent glands, which can also suppress a scent. Other ways of marking your area is simply by using feces as well as urine, as mentioned earlier. We can now see as it's becoming warmer, all of them are starting to move into the shade to try and conserve as much as possible energy. One thing that I do find quite strange is that although they all move into the shade and it is incredibly warm, that they sometimes lie right on top of one another. Well, now that we have located on these lions, we've also let the rest of the teams that are operating on Pridelands know that we have found them. And there's quite a few people that would like to come and view them. So I'm going to give these vehicles the opportunity to also come and have a look. We're going to make our way elsewhere and go and see what we can go and find.
While JP moves on to go see what he can find, we found little Maurice looking thoroughly bored. He's found himself a nice little spot to have a rest, though, in a little bit of shade. He's not following Mom. Mom has walked off and he's just doing his own thing. Oh, look at this cat. He's got his claws dug into a little ball of elephant dung. Did you just hear the word Mom and you were like, wait, hang on, did she leave? It's almost like the moment I said it, he was like, no, hang on a second. She was lying on the mound. I saw her. She didn't leave me. There's no ways. I would never be left to my own devices. But the truth is that is the case, and Mom might not even come back for the next 5-6 days. Sometimes she's can be gone for a long time. She's always been like that with the cubs. She's often left them for long periods to go and do her own thing and find food and those kinds of things. And you probably find she actually does check in more than we realize. She probably comes in and says hello and then moves on and says hello and then moves on. And it's just that we don't pick it up as much, so we think that she doesn't kind of go there. But we do also know from the tracks that a lot of the time she's quite happy to meander about far from where her offspring are, and do her own thing for a number of days. Are you going to get up now as well? It looks as though he was going to pass out and then all of a sudden decided I want to go somewhere else now. Oh, little Maurice. Into the thickets we go. Luckily this is a very small thicket. Just trying to see if he's going to lie down there or what he's doing. It seems like he wants to just find a spot that he can lie in the shade where he's not as visible. So we'll try and see if we can relocate him and see if we can get a better view on him.
So just a little update from my side. I have been bumbling around checking the drainage lines and water holes. And wouldn't you know it, this is where the wild dogs pass through. And there is a hyena that seems to be following. And at the moment just taking a little bit of a rest in the cool water at the dam. You can see it is still looking quite alert. It's looking around and it's probably just trying to figure out where the wild dogs have gone before it follows their tracks. and listening for any other hyenas who had the same idea. So hyenas have a ridiculously good sense of smell and hearing, and their eyesight is impeccable. And so this is definitely one of the best predators around. And so this hyena will be listening for that tiny little crunch of a bone or slightest squeak from wild dogs. And it'll be up and gone if it hears that. Because it can run so fast and keep a kind of canter or a gallop going for a while, it knows it can catch up, so it can afford to take a little bit of a break before it runs off behind them if it hears anything. Because it is warming up now, it's very likely that the wild dogs have actually laid down somewhere. And so it's not imperative that the hyena is right on their tails, because it's most likely going to happen now that the wild dogs are going to settle for the rest of the day. So as long as the hyena kind of knows where they've gone, or any other predators that might be around the area, it can catch up when they start getting active again as it cools down. But you can see it has not stopped looking around and listening. Brent, yes, hyenas definitely know how to lounge around. They always seem to find the most comfortable spots, especially near water. And wild dogs actually do the same. Every time wild dogs find a water hole, they might actually get in like this and also have a little bit of a swim. It is going to be exceptionally hot today, so I think the animals are preempting that. They know that the hot weather's coming. They know that there's rain coming in a few days. And so they're taking advantage while they can and cooling off in the beginning of the day to try and keep cool for the rest of the day. I just love how those ears have not stopped moving. So one of my favorite things about hyenas is how much they value their social structure, very, very similar to wild dogs. So this hyena is currently on its own. This is normal. Any hyena that's out looking for food overnight is actually going to split from the clan to look for food, so that one, they don't have to share when they find it, but two, they're also more hidden or more difficult to pick up on their presence if they're on their own. So this hyena's definitely been looking for food and has split from the clan, but if it finds other clan members, they've got this really elaborate greeting ritual that is very similar to wild dogs. There's often quite a bit of noise. You can see quite a lot of submissive behavior as well. So a more dominant hyena would sniff the other hyena. The other hyena would be very submissive, low down to the ground. You might find them licking each other's mouths as well. The less dominant will lick the more dominant's mouth in greeting. They'll also smell each other's genitals. It's a very, very elaborate process. But those kinds of social interactions and behaviors are really one of my massive interests. It gives you great insight into the social structure. And ultimately, you know, that's part of the reason why hyenas are so successful as well. So I don't think it's going to take long for this hyena to move off from the waterhole. It might stay somewhere close by, maybe in the drainage line in the shade. But it is going to get so hot with the sun directly above this watering hole that there's not going to be enough shade to keep the hyena's back cool. It might keep coming down periodically to get back in and cool off. But it's going to be too hot to just sit there in the sun. Definitely looks like it knows where it wants to go, though. It keeps looking off to its left. That's towards the drainage line. So I think it won't be long before this hyena finds exactly where it wants to go and heads in that direction before it gets too hot today. But while this hyena is enjoying lounging around here, I'm going to send you to Tristan, who has his own predator lounging around.
Indeed, he is lounging around. He's now passed out, found himself a better piece of shade, and is fast asleep. Mom is still moving westwards, just parallel with Gowrie Main, so we're just keeping a close ear out on that sighting, because if she crosses back, like I said, I love spending time with Maurice, but it would just be nice to just have a little bit longer with Tandy. We see so little of her that I would really enjoy just spending some time with her. Unfortunately, little Maurice, for now, has found himself in quite a dense thicket too, that we can't really see a lot of him other than his little head that's poking out. Eventually, I'm sure he's going to just fall asleep here and take the whole day in this little area. It's a perfect place for him to spend the day. Lots of shade, and no matter how the sun moves and twists, he'll be able to find good shade in this little thicket, as well as cover. So he's not going to get alarm called at heavily. He's going to be able to rest quite nicely without attracting massive amounts of attention to himself, which will be nice. It's so funny though, like he walks and then you come around and then he kind of looks at you and then he's like, no, I'm going to go around this side, and then he goes and lies there and he's like, okay, there's fine. Kent, I would imagine he still will. He's still got that curiosity in him, so maybe he'll be a little bit more circumspect around snakes, but I wouldn't be surprised he still goes after them. Opportunity for food is opportunity for food, and he's shown that there is a semblance of natural immunity that he's got to that puff adder envenomation. So I would imagine that he'd still want to try and find food out of them, and I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think he'll be too perplexed by it or too concerned. If he finds himself a big python, I'm pretty sure he's going to try and kill it. Maybe he'll be a little bit more wary of puff adders particularly. I'm sure he'll understand that hissing sound now and associate it maybe with pain, and so try and avoid them. But if a snake doesn't do that, then maybe it's going to be fair game for him. And we know leopards do take things like pythons quite regularly. They're animals that are slow moving, and for a leopard can be a really good meal. Tingana there's lots of photos of him famously taking quite a big puff adder, but funny enough, he actually didn't kill that puff adder. Everybody always thinks it's him that killed it. It was killed by a honey badger, and he stole it. So they do go after them and do eat them, and I've had multiple other leopards eating pythons over the years. There's smoke coming out. Well played. Good job, Morgan. Morgan has noticed that the spotlight flicked on and was starting to burn something. Well done. Morgan's very in tune with smoke these days, everybody. Because he almost burnt his legs off twice this stint. We've driven and the car exploded, exactly. Wendy's also been smoking out of the engine, so well played, Morgan. That would have eventually caused some sort of issue. The spotlight that we have is the most unsafe design I've ever seen in my life. It's got like a little flick switch, and just bouncing off road can trigger this thing to go off. And the light gets so hot that it can, we've seen multiple jackets burn on this car and all kinds of other things. So got to be a bit careful with that. I think it's time to try and get a better one. Can add that to the list of things. Anyway, little Maurice, are you tired, boy? It seems like he must have had a long night, because he's not been his very playful self today, even though Mum's been around. I think he's just probably been an absolute hooligan through the night, and so it's now time to have a very good rest. It's also hot, so I don't blame him. Walking in this heat is not going to be that much fun for a cat. So a nice little shady, sheltered spot seems like a far better idea than walking around. He looks comfortable though, doesn't he? There's another one for your showreel, Morgan. Eh?
It's too clear.
Too clear for your showreel, okay. It's not good enough for your brief of animal in camouflage moment.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll try to do better. I mean, I can do better if you want me to.
No, please don't.
No, please don't. Take it. Amazing how he just sleeps there. He's not worried about us at all. Sometimes forget just how privileged we are to be able to see leopards the way that we do. I mean, we just had Tandy walk right past us, pretty much under Morgan's bottom, and then little Maurice now just passed out in our company. You know, he wouldn't do this if he was in any way stressed. So to have him kind of lie down like this is always a very, very special privilege for all of us. You guys at home as well as us that are out here. Alright, well, Maurice is passed out at the moment, so we'll stay with him for a little bit longer and listen to where Tandy's going. In the meantime, though, take a look at a prize that you could win if you join the Explorers program.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Good morning and welcome back. We were just going to relocate elsewhere where we could come and start our walk. Now we were planning to head to one of the dams. And we again found our buffalo, and it seems that they're heading in precisely the same way. So we're still on the vehicle. Let's go and have a look at what they're up to. It's absolutely been a crazy morning with regards to lions, buffalo, and all the interaction that we have seen. If you join us on WildEarth Explorer, you can also register for the Pridelands Eco Training Prize, and maybe you get lucky to experience a morning like that we have had this morning. Let's see what our buffalo is up to. There's quite a few of them that's still busy feeding. There's also a few of them that seems to have wanting to move into the shade. So the movements of a group like this is generally dictated by a group of buffaloes, which is referred to as pathfinders. They can be either male or female. They're not necessarily dominant animals. When it comes to dominance, we find that the bulls are always more dominant than females, and that there's a group of males in this, or bulls, that are more dominant than the others, that will outcompete. They're generally the largest of the buffaloes in this group. We also find that quite often within groups like this, competition for females becomes incredibly intense, and sometimes you have to take a break. Some of these males will eventually move out. They generally do so by the age of 8 to 11 years of age, take a little bit of break in an all-boys group, and then come back into the breeding herds to some and breed. Some of them actually just stay in those bachelor herds. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer and see what they get up to.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pig-eared gland is something the hoopoes have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam ops have a bit of work to do in the morning, up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
So I am doing my daily check on Mrs. Wig. She seems to be quite active this morning. She keeps rearranging in the nest. And I'm hoping that I get a little glimpse to see if she's got chicks yet or if it's just eggs. But she seems to be repositioning so much today. She's very, very active. And I don't know if that's because it is slightly warmer this morning. Maybe she's just getting hot. Or if it's because we're getting close to that stage now where those eggs might be getting ready to hatch, or maybe just hatching. It's very, very exciting. She's been very calm, kind of sleeping for the last few days. She hasn't really even opened her eyes much or moved her head. But today is the first time that I've seen her this active, and so that makes me think either we're getting very, very close, or maybe those eggs have actually hatched, and that's why she's more alert, because now there's babies to protect. I have not seen Mr. Wig this morning. I'm not sure where he's gone. So it seems like it's just Mrs. Wig being quite active on her nest this morning. You can see she has rearranged the nest a little bit again in terms of the leaves and twigs on the outside. And I'm so happy you're enjoying it. I agree, it's a brilliant sighting. Absolutely so special to be able to sit so close and really watch an owl in such a private sense, you know, because owls are very, very private birds. You don't get to see them and observe them often, especially from close range during the day. So this really is quite a special sighting. I can see the magic behind it. She's definitely been very busy. I can see that the twigs around the outside of the nest and some of the leaves have been rearranged, maybe because it was so windy last night. There was a bit of debris that managed to blow over her and her nest, so she's rearranged it. But it's just very interesting for me that she has been so active. Even just in the last 5-10 minutes, she's been moving around like crazy. You can imagine when there's only eggs to sit on, you don't really need to move around too much. But if there are little chicks that are hatching, she's got to make sure she doesn't squash them. She's got to keep them warm. She's got to reposition them. Shante, a spotted eagle owl will lay anywhere between 1 and 6 eggs. And then she actually has to sit on those eggs, and it's only the female that does this, for about a month. The range is usually anywhere between 29 and 33 days, but the average is, about a month. The male will not sit on the nest at all, and so she only leaves very, very briefly to find food or to defecate, and then she comes straight back. So I just want to sit here all day and see what happens, because if she does move, we might be able to see what's in that nest, see how many eggs or how many chicks. I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer and just see what she does, because she is so active. Maybe she'll move again. But I'm going to send you over to JP, who's found himself some buffaloes.
Welcome back onto Bushwalk. As we were making our way to go to another area where we wanted to go and walk, we just relocated on our buffalo. We're just waiting for them to move off the road so that we can also pass. So one of the few things that I've noticed with the buffalo is that there's a specific cow that was very heavily pregnant and that she was attacked by the lions. There's a few little scratch marks at the back, as well as where it looks like a bite mark. It seems as if she was very effectively defended by the rest of the group. And quite often I've actually noticed that these cows that are pregnant, they become quite slow when they are so close to dropping that calf. And those are the ones that the lions quite often target. Quite a few times I've seen that calf being ripped out by lions and then being consumed. And thereafter, the rest of the group will start feeding on the remainder of the carcass of the cow. Quite a few times as well I've seen buffalo with broken legs also falling behind. That's probably one of the most spectacular kills that I've actually have seen. And it involved probably almost 300 buffalo trying to ward off a number of lions. However, on the end of the day, they actually gave up and moved off. We quite often, when we look at buffalo, we see them as incredibly docile animals, but they can be incredibly dangerous. And they're definitely not an animal to be messing around with if you are on foot or in a vehicle. A few of the things I have noticed in the last few years where there has been incidences with vehicles and buffalo, it's quite often buffalo that was hand-raised or being used to be fed out of vehicles during times of drought where there wasn't sufficient food, where they start learning to associate that vehicle with food. Let's see what our buffalo is up to. There's quite a few oxpeckers that has just flown in. And there's a lot of red-billed oxpeckers, but every now and then we actually see the larger yellow-billed oxpeckers also coming in. So for those first-time viewers that don't know the difference between the two, yellow-billed has got a yellow and red bill, while red-billed oxpecker has a all red bill coloration. We also find that red-billed oxpeckers are slightly smaller in size, and we find that they're overall darker in coloration compared to the larger yellow-billed oxpecker. We also see that the two birds have a very different feeding technique when it comes to feeding on ticks. And one of those are with the red-billed oxpecker, they've got little comb-like structures in the beak which combs out the ticks, while the larger yellow-billed oxpecker, their bill works almost like a pair of pliers to yank out those ticks from the coat of the buffalo. As mentioned earlier, we've also got a number of fork-tailed drongos which is associating with the group. It's not the only birds that we find that actually associate with buffalo. Sometimes we find western cattle egrets also following them, and sometimes even perched up on top of the buffalo while they're moving through the vegetation, disturbing insects. In their case, they don't provide an alarm call as the oxpeckers will do. They just simply benefit from the feeding. I've also seen swallows actually flying in from behind a group of buffalo and feeding on the insects that they have disturbed. Our buffalo has now started moving off the road, and we're going to make our way towards one of the dams and go and see what we can go and find over there. Hopefully we might be able to get an elephant or two coming in for a drink.
So I'm sitting in the riverbed and just admiring a little bit of the bird life. It seems as though there are quite a few birds that are flitting between the trees. And I've just noticed a little fork-tailed drongo that's actually sitting beautifully. And I think it's waiting for insects to move through down this riverbed. Definitely a stunning day for it. There's a lot of bird calls happening. You can hear the wind as it's being funneled down this drainage line. And just amazing to see how life seems to kind of really show itself, especially in the drainage lines as it's getting hotter. This is one of my favorite places to be. During the heat of the day, this is just unreal. There's actually quite a few little fork-tailed drongos that are scattered in all the big trees all along the riverbeds. You can hear a variety of other bird calls. Another grey-headed bush shrike calling in the distance. Let's have a listen. I've actually also seen quite a lot of kingfishers out this morning, also lining the drainage lines and around the water holes, looking for some juicy insects. Absolutely brilliant morning for birding this morning. Adding to my list.
Reeps is up and moving again. 5 minutes was all he needed in order to rest. Maybe he's realized Mom went that way and now he's going. So we'll try to keep up with him and see where he heads. I'm surprised he's walking now. It's gotten very warm. If you're sitting in the sun, it feels like you're being baked in a microwave. You know, not that I would know what that feels like because I've never been in a microwave, but I would expect that's what it would feel like. So did you find that funny, Morgan? What is he chasing now? Scrub hair. My boy, it's long gone. Your scrub hair is not going to slow down for you. So now he's going to go back and see if there's another scrub hair in the bush. Of course. He'll be right behind. Let's go forward, Morgan. He's so sneaky. Look at him. Kind of in this bush here. Ah, come on, man. Let's try to go this way around. He's gotten himself in this buffalo thorn. And he's looking for where that scrub hair was lying. I suppose maybe if he checks every now and then he can find little baby scrub hairs that potentially have been left behind by a mother. So I suppose not the worst strategy to go and check where it ran from. I wonder if he thinks there's water here. That's why he's going to the pan system. There's a pan that's not far from here, so it might be that's the reason he's heading there. Jean, it depends on leopards. Every leopard is different. Some enjoy being up on trees, some don't. What have you seen? Seems like he's spotted something. He's going to turn the car a little bit. You see how his whole demeanor has changed. What are you going after? goodness. It starts. The chaos that is Maurice is starting. So it just depends on the individuals. Some like being up trees, some don't. Males typically not, because they get too big, and it's difficult for them. But some females love trees. I see them up the trees all the time. Karula was one. She really enjoyed trees. We used to find her up there quite regularly, just relaxing and taking it easy. But remember that being up a tree, especially in an area like this in winter where the marula trees are devoid of leaves and things like that, it's not offering a lot of shade, and secondly, it's easy to be seen. And remember, their general demeanor is to try and not be seen, and so most leopards that are up in trees are there for a reason. They've been pushed up by something, maybe they're getting irritated by insects, so they go up. If the grass is very, very wet, then they like to lie up in the trees. Those kind of things will all be reasons why they go up. As well as just if they have a kill. So sitting and just kind of being in a tree is not generally what leopards like to do. It's a big fallacy that they are like tree cats all the time. They go up when they need to. You know, when they, like I say, when there's a reason, but they're not cats that are just going to spend all day, every day in trees. These things are kind of made to be the way, well, people kind of portray them in that way because there's all these photographs of them of trees, but for the most part, they're actually ground-based. And they only use trees for very specific reasons. I don't know what it is that he's watching. I can't see any antelope, so maybe it's just that scrub hare that ran. He saw it moving again and got excited. Could be that is taking place. I'm not sure. You see anything, Morgan? Whatever it is, he's super interested in it. Elizabeth, exactly. Ventures with Maurice, I think, is always a cause for celebration for everybody. And when he starts to get his trotty little run on and his little focused face, that means he's seen things and generally going to be quite entertaining to watch. So, I'm intrigued to know what he's actually looking at. It must be that scrub hare. Surely he saw the scrub hare move again and he thought, well, I can get closer to it. Because there's definitely no impalas or... I suppose there could be a dike up in front there that we can't see. It's very possible. It just goes to show, though, you know, we often talk about cats not being that active during the day, and a lot of people will tell you that leopards are not nocturnal, but they really aren't. These guys are so opportunistic that they'll take any time of day to hunt. And in fact, you know, some leopards actually become very clever about hunting during the day more than they do at night because of the density of hyenas in this area. So Tandy's one of those. You often find her on kills in the afternoon. In the morning she was moving. It gives her a chance to be able to get the stomach content out, to eat a little bit, lighten that carcass and then get it up. Before the hyenas find her. You know, if they kill at night, a lot of the time they lose those kills because the hyenas are marauding around and waiting for these leopards to be busy and even tracking them at times. So it's the whole notion of them being strictly nocturnal, same as lions, is not great. They are animals that will do what it takes to survive, and if that means being active at 12 o'clock in the afternoon in 45-degree heat, then they'll do it. But I mean, it's obviously weather conditions also play a bit of a role. If they start to get overheated, then they need to find shade and pant and just get themselves cooler again. But it's not to say that they won't be active even in the daylight hours. And you can see, I mean, he was resting, by all accounts, just wanted to sleep, and it looked like he was going to sleep the whole day. But I should have known better because he's a delinquent and can't sit still. So he's up and moving. All right. Well, we'll stay with him. Let's see what he's doing. Just hold on. Look, he's going to do his little leopard crawl. Isn't that cool? Look at those little shoulders. That's so awesome. I love it when they do that. So that floating collarbone that they've got is what allows them to be able to do it. What is here? There's something that's moving that he's seen. that he's trying to stalk, and look at that body position. Looks like it's just around this bush, but I don't see anything. The way he's positioning himself is like it's kind of walking in that direction, and he wants to get into a spot where it's going to walk towards him. It must be that scrub here if we can't see it. But look at this. Isn't that amazing? Look how low to the ground that cat is, and you see how he puts his head up and just looks over the grass a little bit, and then off he goes again. Okay, just watch him. We start to see that bum wiggle a little bit, we know he's going to pounce. I'm sure it's the scrub here. Maybe in that little thicket there, in the shade. That was epic though, to watch him leopard crawl his way along. You can see why it's called leopard crawl when you do that walk on your elbows. They are notoriously good at doing it. Lions can do it too, but not quite as low and as effective as a leopard can. It was very cool to see. But the way he was stalking was like it was very, very close, 1, and 2, like it was moving. I don't see anything at all. I'm trying to look for just like the ears of the scrub hair sticking up or something like that. There he goes. Look at this. So cool. You can imagine the tension in that body right now. What he needs to do is get his back legs underneath him a little bit more. So you see now, like that. And that allows him more of an ability to pounce. And when he's stretched out, generally they're not going to run from that. What they're trying to do is get close and then get the back legs in, which gives them the maximum amount of force to push forward and grab whatever it is that they're looking for or hunting at the time. It's a much better position that he gets himself into when he gets his back legs in underneath. Can you see the scrub here? Oh, there it is there. I can also see it. So it is a scrub here that he's after. He's taken the long route round at this stage. He could have got there if he'd come around the back of that bush instead of coming all the way around back past us and then up. If he had gone behind the bush, I think he would have had a much better shot at this. You see how the scrub is just hopping? And he's trying to move when the scrub hair moves because that's going to provide noise. Of course, we don't want to disturb the hunt, so I'm not going to move too much. I don't want the scrub hair to go bolting off. This cat. Now that distance might not seem like a lot, and if it was something like a cheetah, it wouldn't be. A cheetah would be able to run that scrub hair down from that distance, but a leopard doesn't have that speed or that endurance to keep up with the scrub hair from that distance, so it's got to close the gap a lot more than that. It's got to get to within 2-3 meters of this scrub hair, and then it's a big pounce and onto it. You see now how his walk is much faster and much looser because the scrub hair has obviously moved a little bit from where it was, and he feels like he can close distance again without it seeing him more effectively by walking quickly. And once he gets into range, then he starts to get that slink going again and dropping his whole body down. Crossing fingers for him to be successful in this hunt. The thing is it's one of those situations where you want him to be successful, but at the same time it means that an animal gets killed in front of us, which is never the nicest thing. I mean, there's definitely a sadness to that. But it just goes to show how he's on that road now where he's going to be self-sufficient soon. The fact that he's picking things up, he's stalking even away from mom, not relying on her to do all the work for him. And like I said, lately he's been having some success. You know, we've seen him catch a scrub hare. There was that baby Ngala, which could have been either of them. The impala, that could have been more likely him than her, but possible she might have done it. But at least we've seen him actively going after food and having some semblance of success. So it's cool when we get to witness him actually doing it and see that transition from cub to more independent, self-sufficient, sub-adult male. Now how close that scrub hare is now. I'd imagine it's still a pretty similar distance, because he's not flat. He's kind of got his head still up a little bit. Might have heard an elephant. I don't know if it came through, but there was an elephant screaming in the background. Probably a young one looking for milk. And mom not letting it get any. How's that camouflage from here now? It's amazing how quickly they disappear, these cats. If he lies down from here, we wouldn't be able to see him at all. I wonder if he's trying to wait for this scrub hare to settle a little bit and just lie down and start to rest. Because remember, scrub hare's going to try to find a thicket to just rest in during the day. So maybe he's just holding off a little bit, letting the scrub hare get comfortable and rested, and then he'll go start moving towards it again. There he goes. Excuse me, everybody. Morgan. Tristan. Don't laugh. I don't know. Let's just try and move slightly. Should be alright. We're quite far. What do you think, Morgan? Do you want me to stay or move? Okay. I can stay for you then. Let's see what he does. Morgan reckons there's a little clearing. I think he's going to run around the back of that tree when he takes this thing. See, it's moving. I haven't seen the scrub hare come running out, so it's still there. The way he cocked his head was like the scrub hare was about to move. Always the interesting part about leopard hunts is they can take 1 minute or they can take an hour. You never really, especially when it's something small, because you've got no idea where it goes. You know, it gets into long grass and that's it for us. So it's just about being patient and biding our time and waiting. It's tricky from here because I can't see the tail, so the tail and the hips are always the one that gives it away as to how close that animal is. The tail starts to twitch and move, and then the hips start to shake. Then you know it's going to be very, very, very close. But he's already exercising much more patience than he used to. You used to watch him do this, and he used to try and run after the scrub hare after like 2 minutes of just sitting. Whereas now
Apologies, we seem to be having some tech issues, but we are back on track. I'm headed towards Treehouse Dam to go and have a look if there might be anything that is coming down to have a drink. It has warmed up a lot. Even I'm getting thirsty and enjoying the heat, so I'm sure the animals are as well. So I'm actually still driving just along the edge of a drainage line. I'm still checking because this is a really, really good area for predators during the day. It's nice and shady, sheltered, with lots of cover. And I know that there have been tracks of a leopard in this area the last 2 days. We've been seeing tracks of a leopard here, so I'm pretty sure there is a leopard in this drainage line somewhere. So definitely worth checking just to make sure. There are quite a few birds of prey that have been flying around as well. Some vultures, which is always a good sign. But also things like Wahlberg's eagles that we've seen kind of flashing past. I'm really hoping there might be some elephants down at the dam. There have been quite a few elephants and herds moving through. There was a massive herd of elephants in the drainage line earlier, and they moved off into the thickets before I could get a chance to show them to you. But there are lots and lots and lots of elephants around today, so I'm hoping we will see a lot more. Hear a lot of birds already. Ooh, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Right, let's have a look what might be at the dam. Alright, so this is Treehouse Dam. You can see it is quite hot. There is not much shade here. I'm wondering where the resident hippo has gone. He hasn't been here for 2 or 3 days. It seems like even bird life is a little bit scarce at the dam itself. Down the drainage line though, there is a little bit of movement and you can hear quite a few calls. So you can imagine on a very, very hot day with the drainage line leading into the dam right at the top there, and a drainage line coming down from the dam, which is behind where you can see on the opposite side. This is a great place for elephants that are feeding throughout the drainage line to come down and start applying some sunblock. So they'll come down and have a nice little mud bath and splash themselves full of water. Matt, it is a beautiful scene. Any time spent at a waterhole is never wasted. because there are always birds around, there's always a bit of life. And so it's lovely to just see what comes and goes. I am one of those people that could sit here all day, find a shady spot, and just watch what comes and goes throughout the day. I do feel like the dams and waterholes are going to be very, very popular throughout the day today. It's probably already at least, I'd say, 30 degrees Celsius here. It's very hot. Luckily there is a breeze, so that is helping, especially we're a little bit higher up on the dam wall. But the watering holes are going to be very popular. You can imagine how lovely it must feel for an elephant that is so big with dark skin. Bearing in mind its skin is about 4 centimeters thick. It's very hard for them to stay cool, and today is going to get up to about 37 degrees Celsius. Probably hotter. So it must be amazing to come down to the water hole, be able to splash yourself to cool off, especially behind those ears, and then drink a whole lot of refreshing water. Waikisha, there are crocodiles in the area, in the general area that we're in, but this particular waterhole, there don't seem to be any, or we haven't noticed any anyway. I think it is a little bit small. It would definitely survive in here, but it would be a little bit limited on food choice. So, for example, the main area that you would see crocodiles here would be somewhere like Chitwa Dam, because it is massive, and so there's a lot of opportunity for fish for the crocodiles to eat, as well as for a variety of different life coming down to the banks all the time to drink. So they'll definitely go for a bigger dam if they can. I would say this dam in total size, you know, in length and width, if you were to put a square over the top of it or a rectangle, it's probably only 30 meters by maybe 20, so it's not that big, as opposed to Chitwa Dam, which is massive. I can still hear a chin spot batters in the background. I keep hearing them and I can't find them. I was really hoping that there might be some elephants here, but maybe I'll be surprised and a whole bunch of them will come down from that drainage line you can see on the far end there. Nice and thick, lots of cover. So the elephants seem to be resting up for the hot days. And I can't imagine anything better as an elephant than coming down and plastering a thick layer of mud all over your skin. The birds are definitely getting a little bit more active. You can hear a lot more birds calling. So I know that there is a resident steenbok that lives around here. I have not seen it in this area today, but it could just be because it is so hot. Maybe it is already hiding in a thicket somewhere where we can't see it. But it will be interesting to see what comes and goes during the day today, especially for the next 2-3 hours as it's heating up so quickly. So it seems as though all of a sudden the birds are a lot more active with their calls. This is very common in waterhole areas or areas with drainage lines where there's a little riverbed and tall trees. So let's just have a listen to some of the birds that are calling at the moment and just kind of watch. You'll see the birds flying over the dam every now and then. So the chin spot batis is the little black and white bird. It's very, very tiny. It usually sits right on the ends of branches, and I can hear them calling, but I haven't actually seen one in about 3 days. It sounds like 3 blind mice, 3 little tones, one after the other. I can hear some green wood hoopoes as well. There's actually an African Harrier hawk that's just landed on top of a tree in front of me as well. I wonder if it's going to be coming down just up on the ridge. Maybe coming down towards the waterhole to look for some food. Absolutely beautiful to see so many raptors out today, especially the African Harrier hawk. It's one of my favorites. So this African Harrier hawk is balancing very precariously on top of a dead tree. It's actually very close to the dam, so I think it's come down to look for food. But watch how it's trying to balance when the gusts of wind pick up. You'll see its tail goes up, its wings start to go out. Definitely not the easiest position to balance from on a windy day. Actually quite a big bird. It's surprisingly big, much bigger than I ever thought, from looking at them at a distance. And a very unique bird of prey in the way that it feeds. It'll actually concentrate on dead trees like that. And it'll go and look in the holes of the trees where little pieces have been hollowed out for any food, whether it's foam nest frogs or lizards or skinks or snakes, even insects. Very unique hunting strategy in that sense. But this bird is actually over 1/2 meter tall. Oh, there it goes, incredible. Wow. Coming down to the dam and going up to a dead tree. Unreal. There's actually a Burchell starling that arrived in the back of the frame there to try and mob it, just to intimidate it a little bit. It's actually sitting right on the top of the dead tree. And there's another one. And this is very typical behavior, this mobbing behavior, or kind of like intimidation tactic, is to make noise and not let the bird out of your sight. So if the bird starts moving, they'll follow it and they'll chatter away to the other birds as well. And the hope of this is that the bird will get so frustrated that the Burchell starlings are mobbing it and not leaving it alone that it will leave the area. Because of this bird specifically, with the African Harrier hawk, the way it feeds would be to look for food in the holes of trees. That's where Burchell starlings nest. And so they've got to try and distract this Harrier hawk from finding chicks if there are any. Can see it's definitely still looking around for food. Wow, I wonder if it's going to drink. If it does, that will be a first for me. He might be scanning around for food right on the edge of the waterhole, things like lapwing chicks. Actually looks like it wants to drink. It's edging up so closely to the water. Oh wow. Shame, look how its feathers are blowing. Oh my goodness. I have never seen an African Harrier hawk drinking before. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, it really is stunning. It's so unusual to catch birds of prey drinking. I've seen it once or twice with some of the other species, but never ever with an African Harrier hawk. It's very interesting for me to see how it's drinking in little tiny sips, and then it gets up to make sure there's no predators around. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm sitting here watching this for so long. As you can see, it hasn't actually come out to the main section of the water. It's drinking from a little puddle that looks like it was left in the track from an animal that walked there. And that's for safety, because a crocodile would take a big bird. So it's drinking from a section where it's more difficult to be snuck up on and not actually putting its head towards the main body of water. Amazing, and now you can really see as well in that light those brilliant colors on the face and the legs. Bright yellow. There's even on this one you can see, which is really nice, which you don't see in all African Harrier hawks so clearly. You can see the little bit of pink on the face alongside the yellow. So to me, it is actually still quite early for this Harrier hawk to be drinking. Mostly eagles and vultures would actually come down to the water more towards the middle of the day, but because it is so unusually hot so early, and we're going up to, very high 30s, I think all the animals are preparing. Even the birds are preparing for the intense heat that we have got coming today. Absolutely beautiful to see this. I don't know whether to watch through my binoculars or watch on the screen. It's just so stunning. I'm doing a little bit of both so I can see the detail up close and I can see it from a wider angle with my eyes. And I'm looking through the binoculars. There's just so many special moments that you just never anticipate happening. And then they pop up like this one does. And you just can't believe it. It might not be a wild dog kill or anything like that, but this is incredibly special because you don't often see predators, these predatory birds, the raptors, so relaxed that they spend this much time drinking. I'm feeling very, very lucky this morning. Wow.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, you're back with us. Sorry about earlier. Apparently we were supposed to know what happened, but we don't. We lost signal, and who knows why. Anyway, Maurice missed the scrubby. The scrubby ran away, and then there was another 2 cars that wanted to come in, so we gave some space. We'd been with him for quite a while, so just thought we'd give others an opportunity. He was starting to walk towards that dried pan that I was telling you about. So I'm sure we'll find him somewhere there. Tandy also seems to be coming that way, so maybe they'll cross onto the Djuma side. It would be so nice if they came to like Twin Dams and just hung out there for a few weeks. It would make our life a lot easier in many respects. So we're just getting back onto quarantine now from Djuma side. I'm saying from Chitwa side we came up Twin Dams. A few elephants around, but otherwise fairly quiet. So it seems like the dogs settled way up north in Buffelshoek, so hopefully they'll turn and come back our side at some point. I can't even remember the last time I had a proper wild dog sighting live. It's been months, if not even years, of like a decent sighting. So it'd be nice if they did come back. Alrighty. Don't think there'll be much on quarantine now. It's getting seriously warm out here. There is a breeze that's blowing, but the sun is super, super hot. So I wonder if it's gonna be like this the whole day, or if the wind's gonna kick up. Because we're supposed to get a cold front at some point in the next. I think it's tomorrow, is it, Morgan? Oh, tomorrow. Yeah, that it arrives. So we can expect quite windy conditions today, I would imagine, and then cooler weather coming in. Alright, so while we slowly bumble back home and see what else we can find, in the meantime let's introduce Tessa, who's doing a spot of birding.
So our African Harrier hawk is calling up in the tree. Can you believe it was chased off? Oh my goodness, there's another eagle coming in. This is crazy. It was actually chased off from the water by a hammerkop and now being chased off by what looks like maybe a tawny eagle. It's a birding day. Definitely a tawny eagle. Wow. Sitting on the nest, so I wonder if it saw from a distance that the Harrier hawk was around and decided to go back to the nest just to make sure. You can hear it calling. I still in my mind can't believe that this Harrier hawk was chased off by a hammerkop. And then the poor thing lands in a tree and gets chased off by a tawny eagle. What an unbelievable way to end the morning. So much raptor action. I think all round we've probably had one of the most successful mornings in a while, between all the raptors, the elephants, giraffes, the lions with JP, and of course the leopards with Tristan. Absolutely unbelievable morning. I think everybody is anticipating the hot weather, and so this morning was just filled with so many unexpected surprises. We really hope to see you this afternoon. Please join us to see what other surprises we have in store. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an amazing afternoon. As much as it's going to be hot, I think we're going to have some incredible sightings today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us too. We really, really appreciate it and can't wait to see you later on in the day.